Start with a flea flicker to open up the night. And he connects with Galladay.
Sup, everybody, and welcome to the Week 8 recap on the Flea Flicker with Joey D and Timmy B. Joey D, how are you today, my friend?
Doing great. Just a interesting day with a lot of stuff going on in the football world and political world. So just trying to make it through. Keep focusing on the positives. Eagles won. I'm not going to focus on any of those negatives that are associated with that win.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting day here in America. A lot of news with the NFL trade deadline, some other positive tests in the NFL, as well as the American election. But shout out to your brother, John Michael, for coming on to be our guest. If you would like to be a guest on the Flea Flicker, be a guest picker, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment your pick of the week, or just really comment anything. I don't care what you comment, just comment something. So thank you again, John Michael. We'll see how his picks are doing. Let's see if we can get back on the 9-5 streak. But Joe, let's just talk about the first game that we talked about, the Indianapolis Colts at the Detroit Lions. The Colts come in, they put up 41 points. Nyheim Hines had 2 touchdown receptions of 20-ish yards. He had a great backflip celebration. The Colts looked really good in this game. Lions didn't really. So Colts win 41-21. Joey D, your thoughts from this game?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting game. I mean, Kenny Galladay went down early with the hip injury. He didn't have a single catch. It was really all Marvin Jones from there. That was the only really bright spot for Detroit. On offense, they just weren't able to put up the points to really hang with Indianapolis this week. On the flip side, with Indianapolis, I was really surprised they were able to score so many points. No T.Y. Hilton. A lot of the other receivers that they have there haven't really been stepping up, making that many plays. Not really many big names there. And Jonathan Taylor also has not really been very good as people expect. He's actually been kind of bad. If you look at his averages, I think Pro Football Focus has him graded out as like one of the top 5 worst running backs right now. So it's interesting, they went with Jordan Wilkins this week. He had a lot of touches, a lot of carries. They made the most of him. I want to say he had like 70 or 80 rushing yards. Had a pretty good game for Indianapolis on the ground. That's what they need to do to be successful. So I thought it was interesting that, they went the Wilkins route in the run game over Taylor, and then Nyheim Hines caught a couple of touchdown passes, stepping up in the pass game where none of their receivers really did. So kind of a weird game. I'm not sure how consistent the Colts are going to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had to start Nyheim Hines in one of my fantasy leagues, and after his second touchdown, I like to see like his points, and it said -4 rushing yards, 2 reception touchdowns. So thank you, Nyheim Hines, for catching those touchdowns. But I also believe that Jonathan Taylor hurt himself. I think he's doubtful for their upcoming game this week. So I did think he hurt his ankle. So hopefully it wasn't a lingering issue hopefully it was a lingering issue this kind of whole season, and we can get him back healthy, because we saw how talented he is at Wisconsin. And then you can make the argument of the Wisconsin running backs, dime a dozen in the NFL. But yeah, the Lions just look so lackluster. And this Colts defense with Darius Leonard on the field is light years better than without. We've seen them lose some games when he was out with injuries. He was back this week, and that defense dominated against Matt Stafford in the offense. Also helps when you knock out Kenny Galladay for the game. So very, very interesting game. Both teams needed this win. Colts got it this time. We're all 1-1. John Michael is 0-2. So yikes to John Michael. He picked the Lions. But now we're moving to Joe. And now the next game, I'm not sure if you knew what Gopal is in terms of weather, but we figured that out this past weekend. As the Raiders go into Cleveland, this Gopal weather was like 30-ish degrees, rain, snow, sleet, wind. I guess Gopal is the term for that. But the Raiders do escape this, winning 16-6. They did get a touchdown. The Browns and Jarvis Landry did get a touchdown. They got called back. A couple of missed field goals and the classic windy field goal where it goes up and then over. But Raiders did escape this game, winning 16-6. Joe, your thoughts from the Raiders-Browns?
Yeah, it was just a little bit of like you said, I think because of the weather, it just affected, the passing game and then the kicking game a lot. So just not very many points, really a defensive struggle. You would think that this is a game that the Browns would be able to kind of grind out because, they've got I would say a better defense on paper than the Raiders. But I think that the real, turning point was just the run game for both teams. And the Raiders were able to run the ball well with Josh Jacobs. He had a good game on Sunday. And Kareem Hunt didn't really do all that much. He had a couple good plays, but wasn't able to, really be as consistent as they needed to on a day with the weather like this. So I think that's really what it came down to. I mean, the Raiders have a very good offensive line, so they're kind of built for games like this to be able to win in the trenches, at least on the offensive side in the run game. So it's encouraging for their defense to be able to hold, a team like the Browns, who's been able to put up some points this year at only 6. I it was a good test for both the Browns and the Raiders. Especially to see, how close they really are, because the Raiders are, I think a good team, but not one of the best, but also, not, I think they could be one of the 7 or 6 seeds in the playoffs. So, I mean, I think it's, definitely concerning for the Browns that, in a game like this where, your defense only let up 16 points, your offense can only put up 6, and it was against the Raiders. You aren't exactly known for a strong defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of these teams will be battling it out for that 6-7 seed, and this win for the Raiders only gives them the advantage over the tiebreakers. But my big thing is the Browns play in Cleveland. They play right next to Lake Erie, so they will have bad weather games like this almost every year. You got to figure out how to win a game when it's raining or windy, the lake affects snow. Like, the Browns have to figure out how to win these games, because you're guaranteed at least 1 to 2 per season in Cleveland. But always happy that the Browns lost, and good news for the Raiders. They picked up a win to catch a game against the Chiefs, but nobody's stopping the Chiefs, Joe. So yeah, those are just my couple of thoughts from the Raiders Browns. And now we're moving to a game that we all got wrong. We all picked against Tua, and based on Tua's stats, we were correct. But the Dolphins defense came up big, forcing a fumble in the red zone and returning that for a touchdown, getting a punt return for a touchdown. If those two things don't happen, Rams win this game 17-14, but the Dolphins come up on top 28-17. Joe, what were your thoughts from this game? What did you see from Tua? Are you concerned with the inconsistency of the Rams offense? Let me hear your thoughts from Rams Dolphins.
I mean, I think we've said this a couple times now. I'm just so impressed with the Dolphins defense. These guys, it's not big name guys really making these plays. Like, I'd never heard of the guy the linebacker who returned a touchdown. But I mean, it was a great play on his part. Just great. There it is. Yeah, Van Ginkel. Yeah, stud. I love it. Just people stepping up, playing together. All buying in. Playing with the energy. Really able to. Challenge that Rams offense and, hold them to only 17 points. So, I mean, I've said it before. I'm not as high on Sean McVay and the Rams offense. I think there are ways to stop it. I'm not super high on Jared Goff either. He's very streaky and inconsistent. He's executed Sean McVay's game plan very well when it's working well, but when it's not, he's not good script. Creating, for like those big plays that, Carson Wentz is kind of known for living and dying by consistently. But when it's all going well for the Rams offense, he can be, one of the top QBs. So, I mean, definitely concerning there. But on the Tua side, there are definitely, growing pains. I mean, fumbling on, one of his first passing plays. It is Aaron Donald. It is his first game, but got to cut down on those turnovers if you're going to be successful in the NFL. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick probably would have had a better game than Tua in this one. But I think that for the Dolphins, with them having so many draft picks coming up, they have to know right now if Tua is going to be the answer. I know last week we were talking, I was saying maybe they do think Tua is, the better short-term answer to help them compete right now. After this game, I'm not as confident. It was only his first game, so I'll definitely give him some more time. But I do also see, kind of the long-term outlook for them. I mean, if they do have questions about Tua, they have to get these answers right now because they have so many draft picks in the next 2 years that if they want to move up for a guy like Trevor Lawrence, they have the capability to do so, and then also flip Tua. But they don't need to do that if Tua is the real deal. So they got to find that out. He's got to, show them why he was worth that number 5.
Yeah, and that came out Sunday morning. I remember I was watching Countdown, and they basically said part of the decision was like, hey, we have so many first and second round picks. I believe ESPN's FPI is projecting the Texans pick to be number 6 overall, which the Dolphins have. So that's basically was a main part of the decision was like, hey, like we have so many draft picks. We need to know now if Tua is the guy, because in a couple of years, we won't have a couple of firsts, couple of seconds per draft. But yeah, I think growing pains, and the Rams defense, especially the front 7, is very good, very talented with Aaron Donald. So I'm not too worried. I would like to see Tua, against a team like the Jets or maybe like the Bengals. I need to see him dominate in a game against a team where they should be dominating and he can put up the stats. But he did just enough to win this game, and that's all it takes in the NFL. All you gotta do is win the football game. Yeah, he's 1-0. So we're moving on. We all picked the Rams, so we are both 2-2. Joe, John Michael is 1-3. Don't know if he's going to be getting 2-9-5. But now, speaking of the New York Jets, we're going to the Jets and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs win 35-9. Pat Mahomes threw a bunch of touchdowns. The Jets almost got to 10 points. They missed a field goal, but this game was pretty close for the first quarter, first half. The Jets were kicking field goals, and then Pat Mahomes just turned it on the second half to throw some touchdowns. Joe, any big thoughts from this game other than Chiefs good, Jets suck?
I mean, yeah, that's definitely the big point. I mean, God, like if you're the Jets, like you're not going to beat the Chiefs. You're not going to come close to the Chiefs. Going into it, that. But if you're in the red zone, you have these opportunities, and all you're coming away with is field goals. I mean, you're not going to beat a team like the Chiefs, just kicking field goals. So I would have liked to see a little bit more aggressiveness there. I mean, what do you have to lose? You're Adam Gase. That's what it comes down to. It's Adam Gase. He's not going to do that. Like he's going to make the wrong decision every time. They need to get rid of him already. So, I mean, definitely, I would have liked to see Sam Arnold, try to at least compete, but he just looked so much worse than Mahomes, especially when you're throwing 5 touchdowns. So, definitely rough to be a Jets fan right now. Chiefs, they got so many weapons. I mean, Mecole Hardman having a big game. Tyreek Hill touchdowns, Travis Kelce over 100 yards. I mean, everybody was having a good game for the Chiefs, except for their running backs, of course. So it's one week it'll be those running backs, one week it'll be the receivers. Probably every week Travis Kelce. But I mean, Chiefs are going to find a way to win each and every week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to add anything. You just said everything that I was going to say. So moving on to a very exciting game. The Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins go into Lambeau Field. Dalvin Cook has over 200 total yards, 4 touchdowns. Vikings win 28-22. Joe, this was a shocker. We all picked the Packers. We thought Kirk Cousins was going to be bad. And, I mean, he wasn't great, handing the ball off to Dalvin Cook. But what were your thoughts from this game? I mean, this was a shocker in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of known about the Packers' poor run defense over the last few years. They've tried to, make some additions. I think they brought in Christian Kirksey, the linebacker from the Browns, to fill that Blake Martinez role at the inside linebacker spot. It hasn't really helped that much. I mean, that run defense has been porous most of this year. And when you're facing a guy like Dalvin Cook and you let him get hot, we saw what happened. I mean, when you're Kirk Cousins, like you said, he didn't have to throw any touchdowns. He didn't have to make any big plays. Or I guess he did throw a touchdown because it was a screen to Dalvin Cook.
It's a screen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, this is ideally the perfect Kirk Cousins game. I mean, he doesn't put you in a position to lose. Doesn't have to make big throws. If you're the Vikings, you can just hand it off to Dalvin Cook, and he's going to take it to the house almost every play. Then you're going to win the game. So Packers got to figure that out. I definitely would have liked to see Aaron Rodgers and the offense be able to put up some more points. I mean, we saw Devontae Adams get going early and just not able to kind of keep it going throughout the game. That second half defense for the Vikings, just ball control, run the ball, and, play good defense. They did a good job against the Packers. So props to them. Packers got to figure it out. And that was a bad loss for them.
Yeah, and the Packers need to figure it out soon because they play on Thursday night against the 49ers, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in our preview. But the Packers might not have a running back on Thursday because their rookie A.J. Dillon tested positive, and I believe obviously being in close contact with all the other running backs, I think it's almost physically impossible that like none of them can play on Thursday. So we'll see how that unfolds, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in our preview. Actually, Joe, we have kind of back-to-back shockers here. The Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow beat the Tennessee Titans at home in convincing fashion, too, 31-20. And my big thing is I say this almost every episode. What is up with this Titans defense? Everybody thought this would be great when they signed Jadeveon Clowney late in training camp. Everybody was like, this defense just got from great to elite. But they're averaging 30, like I said, 30 points to the Jaguars, 30 points to Kirk Cousins, now 30 points to Joe Burrow. They are giving up points, and it is not pretty. Bengals defense showed up well. Derrick Henry still, ran the ball over 100 yards again. But, man, Joe Burrow and the Bengals look pretty good, and especially beating a team like the Tennessee Titans.
And I know when we were talking in the preview, I like the way I was talking about this game. I almost talked myself into picking the Bengals. I don't know what it was, but I just had like a little bit of a good feeling about them this week. I mean, huge for Joe Burrow. Just like, again, without Joe Mixon, T. Higgins has been playing really well for them. Tyler Boyd, out of the slot just continues to rack up catches and yards. And A.J. Green's also starting to come on a little bit more. So, I mean, Joe Burrow, he's got some receivers to work with, and that defense did a really good job containing Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. We've talked about Jesse Bates a couple times. He's one of the best safeties that nobody is talking about, or having one of the best seasons for a safety that nobody is talking about at all. Week in, week out, he makes some pretty ridiculous plays. I think he had another interception in the end zone against the Titans this week, which – just very uncharacteristic for the Titans on offense. Tannehill turning the ball over, Derrick Henry having over 100 yards, but never really feeling like he took over that game. This is one of the very few instances for the Titans when Derrick Henry has had over 100 rushing yards and they lost. So, that defense definitely has a lot of concern. I love Jadeveon Clowney. I went to South Carolina, a huge Gamecocks fan, got to represent. But, since he's been in the NFL and really since, like, his first couple years, he has not been as elite of a pass rusher as people would expect for an overall draft pick to be. I want to say that Josh Sweat for the Eagles last year had, I believe, like, half as many pass rush attempts as Jadeveon Clowney and had, like, the same amount of sacks or something like that. He's an elite run defender, but they got to get a pass rush together. That's really the biggest thing. Joe Burrow had like over 6 seconds to throw on one of his third and long plays where he was able to complete it and get the first down. Just traded for Desmond King today. He was yesterday from the Chargers, a good slot corner there. So they have a huge need at slot corner to hopefully Logan Ryan roll. Maybe that helps. It's definitely a big concern for the Titans. This is a game that we all expected them to win. They should win. I'm not sure how much of it is, I should be concerned about the Titans or how much I should be impressed with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But really big win for the Bengals, really bad loss for the Titans.
Yeah, I think I'm more impressed with the Bengals and Joe Burrow just because we know how bad that offensive line is and the should-be talent of the Titans defensive line. But I think it's time to say that the Titans defense isn't good. We're basically halfway through the NFL season. So they need to really figure it out because their schedule only gets tougher from here. You still got some divisional matchups. You still got the Ravens. I'm sure they still have the Packers to play. So, this is going to be tough for the Tennessee defense, but I'm very excited to see Joe Burrow. Hopefully in a couple of years where they're really competing for the division. I still think that they're a little bit of time away, but this is a great win and this is a good momentum builder to build on for the rest of the season. So now we're moving on to a game. I don't know what to think of this game. The Bills and the Patriots. The Bills win 24-21, but the last couple of weeks the Patriots haven't been looking good, and neither have the Bills. But to me, this was a game that the Bills needed to win by, double digits and really say like, hey, this is our division now. And, Cam Newton almost won it. If he didn't fumble, that they were in a position to at least tie the game to put it into overtime. So Joe, I got to ask, what were your thoughts from this Patriots-Bills game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned for both of these teams because, like you said, this is a game that on paper, based on the way this season has been going, the Bills should have been able to dominate this game. I mean, that Patriots offense hasn't been able to get anything going for the last few weeks, and they let up over 20 points to him. And just Cam Newton with who was it? Jacoby Myers, Olszewski at receiver. I mean, Damian Harris, he had a lot of carries this game. Got a lot of work. So they're using the run game a lot. This week against Buffalo. And we're able to find some success there. But yeah, I mean, Buffalo also, just not really looking that great on the offensive side. I mean, where's the Josh Allen that people were saying, maybe he's the MVP? And now, I mean, he's just regressed back into a shell of what we saw, he has the potential to be. So it's definitely discouraging for the Bills. For the Patriots, I mean, this is a game where, the Patriots of old, like they find a way to win these games. They do not fumble the ball away there on that go-ahead drive, and they did. I think Bill Belichick said in an interview, I mean, the last few years they kind of sold out to win these Super Bowls. I mean, they won like 3 in the last like 5 years. They have like 4 Super Bowl appearances, something like that. And he's like, yeah, we're paying Cam $1 million. There's reasons because we sold out the last few years. We don't have the money anymore. I don't know how true that is though, because I thought they have a lot of cap space. So I feel like he's just kind of trying to make fans feel better, trying to justify this. It just, I don't know. It really looks like Tom Brady was the driving force. And having the greatest quarterback of all time on your team really helps make you look like the greatest coach of all time, maybe. So I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Belichick is still arguably the greatest coach of all time, but I think so, now we've been seeing that this season, Tom Brady was still doing a lot of stuff in New England and making that team as successful. And, to the Patriots' credit as well, and I don't want to, give credit to the Patriots ever, but they did have a lot of defensive opt-outs with Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, Stephon Gilmore, so like they've been missing a lot of pieces on defense. So I do think that they'll bounce back defensively. And we saw that against the Chiefs. They really handled Mahomes well. But now that offense needs to to get it going. I mean, to both Buffalo and New England's point, those first couple of weeks, both Cam Newton's offense and Josh Allen's offense were looking pretty good, pretty prolific, and pretty electric. So we'll see where these two teams go. And, Patriots got to figure it out. They're 2-5 right now. So 1 or 2 more losses and they're done, Yeah. So we'll see how that affects with the 7th seed. But wrapping up those games, we all picked the Bills. We're both 4-4, Joe. John Michael is 3-5, so he better win the next 6 to get to 9-5. And now, Joe, it's that time of the episode. We gotta talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers being undefeated still as they beat the Baltimore Ravens 28-24. We gave them that game. We gave them that game. So you're welcome, Pittsburgh, because we're coming. We're coming on Thanksgiving, pending we're all negative. But we're coming. We gave them the game. I don't know. Lamar's 2 interceptions were bad. The pick 6, was bad. You could argue good defensive play, bad throw. The second interception, I don't know what was up with that. And I don't want to go on for minutes and minutes, but the one drive where we got stopped on 4th down later in the game, we ran the ball, I think, in 10 of the 10 plays on that drive. We did not throw it once, or we threw it one time out of 10, 11 plays. And we were running down the field. I don't know why we look at the numbers and say, hey, we just ran for 280 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It was one of the best run defenses in the NFL. We're averaging, 6.5 yards per carry. Let's run the ball. That, like, the numbers suggest we just run the ball every single play, which I would be A-okay with. So we got to run the ball every single play. Joe, I know I texted you when they called timeout for that 4th down play. I'm like, this is going to be the dumbest play call ever. And it was. a quarterback draw on 4th and 3 with your banged up offensive line. We just lost Ronnie Stanley. We have a backup Garden, and we decide to run right up the middle. Come on, Greg Roman. You are better than this. And so we gave him that game defensively. I dropped my pen again, the weekly drop in the pen. So we need to get better offensively. We do need to find our identity. We need to eliminate the turnovers. Defensively, and Joe, you might see this with the Eagles, but every time I see a number 1 wide receiver wide open playing the Ravens and he catches it, the nearest defender is our middle linebacker. I don't know why we haven't gone, Marlon Humphrey, you're the best in the league. You're just going up against Juju Smith-Schuster the entire game. Just put him on Juju Smith-Schuster. There's so many times where we see a linebacker covering the number 1 tight end for that team or in the league. But looking on the bright side, we're going to bounce back. I mean, we're still 5-2. Of course, our 2 losses are to the Chiefs and the Steelers. Not ideal, but we're beating the teams that we're supposed to beat. And we got the Colts, we got the Patriots up next. So hopefully we can gain that momentum as we go into later November when we have the Titans and Steelers again on Thanksgiving. But it's also a good testament to how talented this Ravens team is, knowing that we can turn the ball over 4 times, have 9 to 10 penalties, lose our left tackle, and still be in a position to win the game at the end. Miles Boykin was wide open in the end zone, but we'll just ignore that. But, Joe, that's all I have to say. I want to be conscious of our time today. So what were your thoughts from the Steelers-Ravens game?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was just the offense just didn't really look in sync for most of the game. There were a lot of those drives where they were just running the ball the whole drive and, able to get down the field pretty easily against one of the top run defenses in the NFL, and with a bunch of backup offensive linemen. I think we texted during the game, and I was like, wow, how are you guys able to do this with your backup offensive line, and ours just looks like trash? So props to y'all, plugging those guys in, and them stepping up and creating some really big holes against one of the best run Ds in the NFL. But I mean, like you said, I didn't love that play call at the end of the game. I mean, I get it. With Lamar as the runner, it gives you an extra blocker. I mean, he's your best player. They ran, I think, that very similar play against Seattle last year, I think on 4th and 3 as well, near the goal line and the end touchdown.
That play we pulled Yonda, we ran to the side to go, and this one was just hike it and go straight. And I was looking at the play again last night. The guard who came in got pushed a little bit by the defensive lineman. So Lamar kind of had to do a little cutback. So maybe if that didn't happen, maybe he would have gotten it. But I just didn't like that play call at all. But continue.
Yeah, I mean, just like we were saying, kind of leading up to this game, we knew that the Steelers defense and the Ravens defense are 2 of the best. The Steelers offense just felt like it had been clicking a little bit more over the last few in the Ravens offense. So that's just kind of what I felt like it was going to come down to. And it seems like that it did. I mean, I can't recall, did Roethlisberger turn the ball over, or were the Ravens able to get any turnovers in this game?
Yeah, we got a couple. I think it was 4-2. I know Ben did fumble once or twice. I believe we recovered one. I think somebody else fumbled. So I don't know if we got an interception.
Okay.
I can't remember, but we did get a couple of turnovers, and that our one turnover was a pick six, and then the other one we put the ball on the 15-yard line. So I would trust any offense, no matter how good your defense is, to likely get a touchdown. And like you were saying, they were clicking. So we did give them some good opportunities to score ASAP or very quickly. But yeah, we did not win the turnover battle.
Yeah. So it was a tough game. I mean, it was a really good game right down to the wire. I really enjoyed watching it. But yeah, I mean, just tough game of inches, and that's what it came down to at the end.
Yeah, and we're glad that it went that way, especially with the best rivalry in football. I'm glad it kind of came down to the wire, like most of them do happen to come down to. But we'll just move on from that, Joe, and we're going to go to the 4 o'clock games now. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Denver Broncos, baby. I picked the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock throwing a touchdown to KJ Hamler as time expired. That makes it up for me picking the Ravens, you guys picking the Steelers. I picked the Broncos, you guys picked the Chargers. So it gained a game on you, 31-30. The big story from this game is Chargers blew a lead again. When they played Tampa Bay, they were up about the same score, about 24-3, 27-3. They lost that. They were up 24-3 in this game, and they allowed Drew Lock and the Broncos to come back and win 31-30. So, Joe, I mean, what's up with LA and, also what's up with Denver?
Yeah, I mean, LA is just finding different ways to lose every week, it seems like. I mean, it's just heartbreaking, what they keep dealing with. So, I mean, they've got to figure out how to close games out on defense. I mean, when you're up 24-3, you would think that, the offense doesn't have to really put up that many more points. They can just kind of run the ball. And I think that was another issue for the Chargers. They don't really have a successful run game, so they're not able to work that clock and just kind of, keep the ball out of Drew Lock's hands. And he made a lot of really big plays at the end when it mattered. I mean, just huge play at the end of KJ Hamler, just off script, finding him open at the end and just putting it on him. I mean, a lot of big plays all over the place. These are, the performances why people are excited about Drew Lock and optimistic about Denver. I mean, they started out 0-3, and they're 3-4 now?
I believe they are 3-4, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're right there. Like if they continue to, keep finding ways to win, the defense can, be a little bit more consistent and the offense can just find a way to put up points, then, this team could sneak in as maybe the 7th seed. I really like what I've been seeing from Drew Lock and Vic Fangio. I mean, his teams they have a lot of fight.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, I'm still very excited to see Justin Herbert. I think he's doing well. And I mean, obviously he put up 30 points. And it's nice when a team like this, you kind of have a rookie quarterback. And we were talking about this with the Dolphins. Now the Chargers front office can say, okay, we can score points. We got offense. We just need to work on the defense, get some pieces. They traded Desmond King today. So we'll see what the Chargers do in the draft because you got to have a defense to stop Patrick Mahomes. And apparently Drew Lock and Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs, so many offensive weapons. So the AFC West definitely needs to bolster up their defense in the offseason. Let's see what the next game I have. The next game I have is the Saints winning in overtime against the Chicago Bears. I mean, there was some controversy. Devon Wims just decided to punch some guy for no reason twice. Joe, you played football. Would you ever punch somebody while wearing a football helmet?
No, it's the stupidest thing in the world. You're going to break your hand. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, my God, like, I think Gardner Johnson after the game was like, that man hit like a girl or something like that. Like, it cracked me. I think that earlier in the game, apparently Gardner Johnson like ripped off his mouth guard or something. Wims said that he spit on him. I don't know, but you don't do something like that, especially like unprovoked that play. Like it'd be one thing if like he did something to not like maybe he's looking for a reason to, but I mean, out of nowhere like that, yeah, you're absolutely going to get tossed. You're absolutely going to get suspended, and rightfully so. I mean, that was unreal, and there's no place for that.
I just like that
believe it.
On the play, like he wasn't guarding Wims, like
exactly.
And then what's even funnier is like after the first punch, he like saw the flag being thrown. He was like, "All right, well, I already got the flag. Let me go in again."
I guess so, yeah.
But let's talk about the game, Joe. I mean, Drew Brees and the Saints did just enough without the weapons. Alvin Kamara had a couple of big screen plays in the passing game and the run game as well. Nick Foles, tried to do what he could do, but Saints end up winning this in overtime. Joe, what were your thoughts from the game aside from this little fight?
Right. Yeah. I mean, Nick Foles, he's got to be consistent, each week and throughout the game. I mean, parts of the game, you're just making bad reads, bad throws, just not putting his team in position to succeed. But then, later on when it looks like the game's out of reach, that's when he starts to turn it on. So you would love to see him, just be able to be that Nick Foles for 4 quarters. Unfortunately, that's just not who he is. So, I mean, props to the Saints finding a way to win, holding on. I mean, I'm definitely concerned about the Saints. They just don't look like a real threat in the NFC right now. I mean, they're still a veteran team with Drew Brees and Sean Payton and Alvin Kamara. But I mean, that defense was allowing a lot of plays at the end of the game. They haven't been as elite as, people were kind of expecting them to be. People thought that adding Malcolm Jenkins and Patrick Robinson and, all these other like kind of small pieces coming together. Marcus Davenport getting healthy. The Saints could really take the next step, but it just really hasn't happened. And then on offense, like we said, so many injuries that they're dealing with. But props to them for finding a way to put up points, without all their offensive playmakers. I mean, Jared Cook had a good game. Alvin Kamara did enough. Drew Brees, he found a way to, just keep moving the ball, getting it down the field. And, it was like that in overtime when they were able to get into field goal range. I mean, it was a good play by him. I mean, he's so short back there. I think you have to like jump up over his offensive lineman to get the ball down the field and get them in field goal range. So love from Drew Brees. But these are the games that to see the Saints be able to win a little bit more easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said it on the Saturday preview, I said Drew Brees outside is not as good as Drew Brees inside, which is why every December, late in the season, all the experts, everybody on TV is saying the Saints really need to be that 1 or 2 seed to have home games throughout the playoffs, because if you get them outside of the dome, it's not pretty. And yes, I know that they were missing Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, and they were a little bit short, but they need to figure it out. I mean, and this Saints offense, their ceiling is Drew Brees' arm. And, it seems like this is the last year for Drew Brees, so hopefully they can go out on top, assuming the Ravens and Eagles aren't playing in the Super Bowl. The Saints need a lot of work, and you said it with the defense. They still need a little bit of work, allowing Nick Foles to come back and score 10 points in the fourth quarter. So both teams need a little bit of work. But, hey, they're both, 5-3, 6-2. So they're in a position to still make the playoffs and make some noise and make a deep playoff run. And now we're moving to a team, the best team in the NFC, the Seattle Seahawks, hosted the San Francisco 49ers. We thought this were going to be a little bit of a better game. Jimmy G goes out indefinitely. George Kittle breaks a bone in his foot. He's out basically the rest of the season, at least the rest of the fantasy season. Seahawks win 37-27. This was the DK Metcalf week. Tyler Lockett had his game last week. Now it's DK Metcalf. So, Joe, thoughts on the Seahawks 49ers, and can the 49ers bounce back from all of these injuries again, especially with the short turnaround on Thursday night?
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for the Niners to come back from this. I mean, they've just been really hit by the injury bug this year. I mean, it's so hard to overcome, so many of your key players. I mean, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, like that's the heart and soul of the defense and the offense right there, I'd say. So, I mean, that right there, that just kind of changes your whole identity as a team. I don't think that they're going to be able to come back from this. I mean, Nick Mullins he's an okay backup. But I mean, he's still a backup for a reason. And now, he doesn't have, a QB's best friend and an elite tight end like George Kittle. Right. And they don't really have a, consistent run game right now with Tevin Coleman getting injured again. I guess this week it looks like it'll just be JaMychal Hasty. Hopefully, I mean, they're playing the Packers, so definitely helps with, going up against a terrible run defense like them. Right. Definitely makes things a little easier for Mullins and for Hasty. But I mean, long term, I don't see how you're able to really be successful, without your starting quarterback, your starting tight end, and, all these other pieces that they've been missing. And on top of that, you're playing in the most competitive division in the NFL in the NFC West. I don't see it going the 49ers way right now. I feel bad for them and Kyle Shanahan. He's doing his best. I mean, 27 points against Seattle, only losing by 10, with everything going on, they're still fighting. I think they'll still win, against the bad teams. But I mean, games like this, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's a divisional game. You need these wins to be able to, hang around. And I think they're really behind in the divisional scores right now.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to Arizona in week 1. That they did beat the Rams a couple of weeks ago on Sunday Night Football, so I believe they're 1-2. I think they've just played everybody once. But, yeah, I mean, especially with Seattle having a couple more wins, Arizona having a couple more wins in the division. I mean, if anything, this really helps elevate the Cardinals and them being a legit contender, not only in the division but in the conference as well. You nailed it. I don't have much to say with the Seahawks. They just look like the same Seahawks team. Russ was cooking. DK Metcalf had a great game. Running game still needs a little bit of work, and obviously the defense giving up 27 points, and I believe 10 to 14 of them were after Garoppolo and Kittle. So it is a little bit of cause for concern. But then again, you also don't game plan for the backup quarterback coming in. So I think Seattle will be just fine. If you keep scoring 30-plus points, they should be winning mostly every game. So after the afternoon, the 1 o'clock and the 4 o'clock, Joe, you and I are both 7-5. John Michael is 5-7. This is not bad. We had a couple of upsets, couple of shockers, and now it's time for the electric factory that was Sunday Night Football. And Gucci Danucci looked like a rookie quarterback, obviously 7th round, but sometimes I was like, all right, like this guy, could win this game because the Eagles are also that bad. Eagles win 23-9. Yeah. Joe, you said 38-10. That was a little incorrect. I said 21-6. That was pretty close. John Michael said 24-8. So if we just added 1 point to the Eagles and took off a point on the Cowboys, John Michael would have been correct. He got the total points correct. But Joe, I'll let you have the floor. Cowboys, Eagles. I mean, like you said earlier, they won, but
yeah, I mean, going into this game, the only way it was going to be a close game or that we could lose is if Carson Wentz turned the ball over a lot against this terrible defense.
Oh, boy, did he.
Oh, boy, did he. He had 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions, and they were all awful. I mean, the fumbles are like I know one of them, he was trying to do too much outside the pocket and, he's running to his left. The whole play was designed to go to the right. There's nobody over there. Just throw the ball away. No, just trying to make something happen. Fumbles. Another play on 4th down. I mean, broke the huddle at like 6 seconds. Like, I don't understand what is going on with these calls. I mean, it's like it's 4th down and, we're on the Cowboys side of the field. Like, if we score a touchdown here and it's 14-3, like the game's pretty much over because the Cowboys they're not putting up 11 more points, knowing they have to score. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So all you have to take a timeout. Like, you're coming out, you're huddling up at 15 seconds, breaking the huddle at 6 seconds. There's a blitz dialed up. Like they don't pick up the blitz. There's somebody wide open in the middle of the field. I don't understand what he's doing. Like the first read was to the right. I think it was still a flat route to Boston Scott. Mm-hmm. And they had 2 linebackers run immediately to cover Boston Scott. So normally with the progression, you go from right to left. You go from the right, look at the middle, then go to the left. With 2 linebackers running to Boston Scott, guess what's wide open? The middle of the field, because they vacated their assignment. Greg Ward is wide open in the middle of the field beyond the sticks. Instead of going from his right to the middle to the left, Wentz jumps from the right all the way to the left, Travis Fulgham, and doesn't see Greg Ward. To be fair, Ward is standing there with his arms by his sides. Yeah. Like, dude, put your hands up, yell, do something to get his attention. Don't just stand there at the sticks with your hands by your side. You got to present your hands to the quarterback as a receiver, and he didn't do that. Once look at him, maybe it's to do with, the more trust them rather than, the rest of the team. Blitz from Leighton Vander Esch doesn't get picked up. He gets sacked. He fumbles, turnover on downs. The 2 interceptions, just terrible. Trying to create big plays, rolling out to his right, going deep. To be fair, the winds were swirling a lot this game. I'm not sure how much of those deep passes were affected by that. It did look like on his second interception, he threw it up deep to John Hightower, and it just kind of took a different trajectory than Hightower was expecting. And Trayvon Diggs, I've called him out a couple times because I took him on in high school, and I won that round. He won this round. I mean, he must have heard me. He must have watched the show. Got 2 interceptions this week. I mean, they're both right to him. So, it's okay. Like, great, you made the plays you should have. Like, nice. They were thrown right to you. You didn't really do that much. So, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, Wentz was a disaster. Like, I was ready for him to get pulled during this game because, I mean, if this is Donovan McNabb, he probably would have gotten benched, straight up. Like it's Carson Wentz. It just seems like we're coddling him, and I don't get it. Like, we got to figure this out. This is a 5th-year quarterback making rookie mistakes and, just doesn't have the trust of the coaches. Like, it seems like every play is just one read and that's it. He's being given very, very basic calls. Like, and he's not executing them right, because once it goes off script, it's anything can happen. Like, could be a big play, it could be a terrible play. Like, I don't know, but right now it's more bad than good. And I mean, something's got to give. Like, you can't extend this guy and, then have this happen. I mean, I don't know how much of it is the mental game with having a second round pick being used on a quarterback, and that's in the back of his head. But, this is bad from once. But on a couple positives, defense played well. Brandon Graham, another, really good game. He's on pace to finally get double-digit sacks for the first time in his career. So that would be a really cool milestone for him. Fletcher Cox had a couple sacks. He has now over 50 in his career. Big milestone for him. And TJ Edwards, breakout game for him, balling out in run defense, stepping up with Nate Gary out. So that was really good to see. But it's also like they're not really even giving him any trust on the passing plays. He's coming out on third down. And it's also against DiNucci. So he didn't really have a chance to be exposed in the passing game like Gary has been. So I don't know, just very discouraging. I mean, I have no confidence whatsoever that the Eagles are going to go into the bye and get this fixed and get healthy. I mean, last year we went into the bye and we came out more injured. I don't know how, but we went to the bye. We were supposed to be getting healthy. We came out, there were like 2 new injuries on the report that hadn't been there before. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. So I don't know. We're still probably going to win this division somehow. I mean, the rest of the NFC is just so bad. It's
I did
terrible.
like that little graphic where it was like, if the rest of the division just kind of like beats up on each other and loses every game, like the Eagles could win the division at like 4-11-1 or something like that.
Because of the tie. It was
right.
like if everyone loses the rest of their non-divisional games, then the Eagles would theoretically they would be able to win. They should be able to win the division because of that tie. So,
which I'm rooting for now. I want this to happen. I'm rooting for it.
I would love to see, like, I mean, the Eagles would have to host a playoff game. The city of Philadelphia would definitely show up and, get loud. So it would be pretty cool to see them actually win a game, beat a good team somehow, just everything comes together in one game, something like that with the like a couple of years ago, the Seahawks had a 7-9 record, hosted the Saints. And that was when Marshawn Lynch had that beast quake game, and just, that beast mode run. So that was, pretty crazy game. Anything can happen in the NFL once you get in. All you need is an invite to the dance, and then you're in. So we'll see, but not confident whatsoever. No, not at all. Not after we could barely beat the Cowboys. God.
We'll definitely get some rest in this bye week. Come out a little bit healthier. Don't get injured again like last year. And now, Joe, we're going to move to Monday Night Football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers squeaked one out against the New York Giants. The New York Giants looked pretty good. Daniel Jones did have a couple of turnovers and a couple of, kind of like Carson Wentz, a couple of rookie mistakes. But, hey, he threw the game-tying touchdown, and then there's this controversial 2-point conversion play. Joe, did you think that was pass interference or not?
I did think it was. I mean, I felt like he got there before the ball got there. I mean, I've seen them call that, make that call both ways many times. I mean, I think there was a play like that went against the Eagles against Dallas, where, I want to say it was like Avonte Maddox. He got made contact with the receiver just an instant before the ball got there. It was close. It was very, very close. I mean, props to Winfield Jr., making the play. But I mean, a lot of it really depends on how they're, kind of calling the game,
right.
Throughout the whole game. So, I mean, if they're letting it go, then, I'm glad they let it go. But I didn't watch the whole game. I watched like the first half and then saw the highlights this morning. So, yeah.
I saw entirely highlights. Tim and I were playing Call of Duty all last night.
Oh, nice.
So
good stuff.
But yeah, I mean, based on seeing the highlights and looking at the stat sheet, I like what I saw from the Giants, but, and this would have been a huge game to win, because we just touched on the NFC East and that division. So it would have been a huge game for them to win. But Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, I believe in the red zone, Tom Brady and Mike Evans are 6 for 6 with 6 touchdowns. So good luck stopping that. The Buccaneers defense showed, the world that they are a little bit vulnerable, and a team like Daniel Jones without Saquon can move the football on them. So I'm not too worried if I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, but if they are playing a team that's not the Giants, the Giants kind of gave a little game plan, a little blueprint on how to get the ball out of Tom Brady's hands and, keep yourselves in the game. So very excited to see where Tampa Bay goes with this. For the Giants, maybe you can beat the Eagles and football team. I believe they got the football team again this week. So it'll be fun to pick that to see. Somebody's got to win that one. Well, I guess they could tie, but that's all I have pretty much for Monday Night Football. Joe, any other thoughts from the game?
I mean, it seemed like Tom Brady had a little bit of ghosts from those 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He is notorious for not playing as well against the Giants. I mean, their defense didn't really do too much against him, but they didn't. I just didn't really feel like the Bucs were on their A game. Mike Evans said it like after the game. Last year and the years past, this is the game that they lose because I mean, in the past they had to be on their A game in almost every facet in order to win. This is a game where even at like a B level, maybe a C plus, something like that. They still found a way to win at the end. They're still a good enough team to not bring their A game, but be able to beat a team like the Giants. So, I mean, they definitely got to be able to bring their A game when they face better teams.
Absolutely, and you nailed it. And that just goes testament to Tom Brady. We were talking about that with the Belichick Brady thing during the Patriots game. It just shows how good Tom Brady actually really is, and the system quarterback thing. So it's nice that they have that veteran leadership because, Mike Evans is right. If this was last year, they probably would have lost that game. Jameis Winston definitely would have thrown an extra interception or two. But that wraps it up for Week 8 of the NFL season. We had a lot more upsets than we thought, Joe. We both went 9-5, so the curse might be on us now. But John Michael only went 500, 7-7. So
that's that casual fan for you.
That casual fan, but hopefully we can get him back on the show and he can redeem himself.
Yeah.
Joe, let's now briefly touch on the Thursday night football game. We have the Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. When this schedule came out, we thought this was going to be a great game. NFC Championship rematch. The Packers were 0-2 in San Fran last year, got embarrassed both times. This could have been a good game for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers to get over the hump. But now no Jimmy Garoppolo, no George Kittle, no Nick Bosa, no Solomon Thomas, no Deebo Samuel, no running backs basically. So for both teams. The Packers are a 5.5-point favorite as I'm currently seeing now, and the over-under is at 50. So, Joe, give me a couple of thoughts from this game, and who's your pick?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Packers and their terrible run defense, when they faced the Vikings. So that's really going to be the key for this game. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is such a great offensive coach and so great at scheming up, great plays in the run game. So I think that's really going to be the key for the 49ers to be able to hang with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, play ball control offense. Don't put the ball in Nick Mullins' hands as much. Put the ball, in your running back's hands, even if it's JaMychal Hasty running behind your these exotic looks. Run some screens, some trick plays, whatever it is to, just keep the ball moving, put some points on the board. And I mean, Packers run D is very vulnerable. So I could see the Niners keeping this a little bit closer than people expect, being able to move the ball, because that's what's going to come down to. They got to keep the ball away from Aaron Rodgers because this defense for the Niners is not as good as it has been. I mean, they're not going to be able to – I don't think they're going to be able to stop Aaron Rodgers, drive in, drive out. I think he's going to be able to make some play on Dante Adams. They might be getting Lazard back soon. So I think the Packers are going to win this. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people are expecting right now, but I think that's going to be because of how bad the Packers run defense is and how good Kyle Shanahan is at scheming up really good run looks. So I'm seeing JaMychal Hasty having a big game this week.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers as well. I think the big key is, especially for Aaron Rodgers and this Packers, is they got to go up big. Like you were saying with the Eagles, if you guys went up 14-3, Cowboys might be just like, all right, whatever, let's just get out of this game. And they could be a very similar one with this one in San Fran. If the Packers go up, 14-0, 17-3, 17-6, maybe the 49ers are kind of like, all right, let's just not get injured again. Let's just get out of this game. I'm going with the Packers. I'm with you on that. I think this could be a ball control game. But luckily, when you have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they only need a couple of seconds to move the ball and make some plays. So I'm not going to pick against Aaron Rodgers. I'm not picking against Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not picking Nick Mullins or C.J. Beathard, whoever the quarterback is. So I'm going with the Packers. And, that'll wrap it up for Thursday Night Football pick and Week 8 of the NFL season. And that wraps up this episode. Joe, any final thoughts as we head into Week 9?
I guess just the last thing about that Packers team and this Thursday night game. I mean, like you said at the beginning, not really any running backs available for this game. So it's going to be some no-name guys kind of having to play and, some different people kind of, playing that running back role potentially. So we'll see how much of a factor that is, or if, this game they're just going to put it all on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders. And if they do indeed do that, then and if they do put it all on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders and they lose, the question then goes to, well, why didn't you give this guy anyone else to work with rather than a backup quarterback? I mean, maybe if you spend first-round pick on a wide receiver, or help out with your middle linebacker, nose tackle, something that can stop that run D or shore that run D up. I mean, yeah, that's something that's going to stand out to me. If the Packers aren't able to run the ball, it's all on Aaron Rodgers, and he's not able to do enough. Like maybe he throws a game-winning touchdown pass and it's dropped. I mean, something like that. I think that instead of a lot of people coming after Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be coming after the Packers front office for not surrounding him with the talent that he deserves to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the some positive tests with the Packers running backs, a couple of positive tests with the Ravens defense, it's going to be interesting to see how in the next couple of days this works out, to see if we can get people back on, off the list of the reserve list with some negative tests. So definitely going to be paying attention to some Adam Schefter tweets and some Ian Rappaport, especially for my Ravens. But, Joe, we're going to be picking these games on Saturday. If you would like to be our guest picker, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment your pick. Could be anything, or just comment anything. If you like Joe's shirt, say you like his shirt. If you like my shirt, say you like my shirt.
Tim, real quick, breaking news. Vic Beasley just got released from the Titans.
Didn't know he was on the Titans, so that's a fun little fact. We broke that news. Thank you, Joe, for breaking that news on Vic Beasley.
Joey Rappaport, baby.
Joey Rappaport. But yeah, so with that news, I think we'll just end the episode here. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy some football, and we will see you on Saturday.
Peace.
And